Hey Libra, how about a little reading from your metal dog? We're going to ask about what's happening as Mars and Venus come together in conjunction this week. So we'll give you a reading from the Tarot of Sexual Magic, and we'll clarify that. Okay, we're going to begin with an oracle card. We get humility. Being like little sheep under the sun. There's happiness to be found in not seeing yourself as, outside or greater than, but maybe just depending on the divine for support. Let's see here. Humility. Accept that you don't know everything. That there's room to learn, room to grow, room to let others bring their strengths into your life. So that is going to be a part of this, as well as underlying this energy, very kind of different, bound, the idea of being bound. Yeah, it's so I see these two cards together and I can see visually how this straight jacket is sort of like a dark way of looking at these sunbeams. These seem like tension here in your reading. And bound in this deck is talking about inner restriction. This restriction is coming from yourself, holding yourself back from opportunity or connection. Don't be afraid to let yourself go and discover the potential. So these seem to be very much about you looking outside of yourself and making connections with others and letting them show you things that you think you don't need their help. Humility. And it could be looking to a divine source. If you are into that, you're here. I'm also going to look at Mars and Venus, and they have been coming in with advice that has been in tension during these readings. So yeah, we'll see what develops here. I'm going to start with a baseline from the Tarot of Sexual Magic, and we'll clarify with this golden version of, there's your Two of Cups, so that seems important. Some kind of soulmate connection coming in here for you. We'll see. All right, so first of all, there is a hope that we're asking about. What is your goal? What is your hope or a dream that you have? So that's what the first card is going to be. I'm going to split this deck here. So the first card, your hope, your goal. Seven of Swords. This seems to be about coming to an understanding with somebody that you're actually, you're misunderstanding each other. And see, the sword there represents the truth, being able to be honest with one another. It feels like two people who are not communicating clearly. Seven of Swords is often about hiding things, a lack of integrity, a need for integrity. I don't know why this kind of comes up with you and me a lot, this dishonesty. Seven of Swords is air. You are an air sign. But it looks like people who are lovers, but who are choosing being right or choosing being afraid to open up over their intimacy. So you're hoping to change that, which is a beautiful hope. Okay, what Venus wants you to know is strength. So Venus is encouraging you to use your most nurturing and supportive, your cups, your heart, to rise to your best self. That is to contain your beastly nature, your low vibe self, to rise to your highest self. That's Venus's advice. It's excellent advice when you and your person are at odds like this. It doesn't have to be like a romantic partner. There could be any other situation where you're choosing to turn your back on somebody who's actually very vulnerable, very, so it's a male body here, but this person looks like incredibly vulnerable and in shame even, some kind of fragility. And so if you could, instead of being a jerk, turn your back to this person, if you could use your strength, the strength that is being loving, not to force this person to open up, but to control like your fear and the darkness that can come from what you fear. So come back in the room, you're looking out the window, and grapple with your inner beast in order to be a safe person for this vulnerable person to open up with. Or if you need strength to open up, then that would be to your person who's being cold. That's another thing. Honestly, like if your person is not being open and warm towards you, they're not exhibiting strength, then I would say don't open up to them. They're not safe, but they owe you. You deserve a loving, safe intimacy. And if you don't have that, opening up to somebody who's cold and harsh and is showing disdain and maybe even shaming you, that's a bad idea, Libra. So take or leave that. What does Mars want you to do? Well, okay, Mars is talking about the Nine of Pentacles. It's kind of, I get like a reverse Samson and Delilah. Samson is cutting Delilah's hair here. The Nine of Pentacles is about being single. It's like, I don't need you to make me feel safe, is the feeling. And yeah, we'll come back to this image. It's quite a provocative image for me. And also this, anyway, so we'll come back to this image. But so Nine of Pentacles is you knowing your worth in and of yourself. Your security comes from you. You have made this lovely single life. And this is what Mars is talking about here. It may be that if you don't control your animal nature, that you end up alone. This is another option. Is like, well, I'm walking away from this. What I'm seeing here is this couple. Well, this guy. You see him in this vulnerable position, and here in this very like masculine. He's like straddling her and cutting her hair while she sleeps. She seems to be submitting to this, but she may be unconscious. Let's actually look at what it says here in the Nine of Pentacles. Yes, the dominion, the magic of the lock of hair. Reserve and discretion bear secret, wild, and powerful loves in which two people nourish each other. Yeah, it's almost like he who is vulnerable and you wish to change that is showing up under this Mars or warrior, powerful, brave, agent of history, hero of his own life kind of energy. Both of these, Venus and Mars, are offering you heroic imagery as advice. So when somebody takes their power and knows their worth, then you have like the possibility of intimacy, and she gets to surrender because he's feeling powerful. I feel like in other readings, Venus and Mars have been in disagreement, but I actually see Venus and Mars, they both met with Saturn, and who's the planet of structure, the hard-working planet, the workaday producer, and then the planet of revolution, Uranus. Like, they both met with them in tense aspects, in opposition, in square. Check your astrologers for further information. I am not an astrologer. I dabble, and then it helps me understand what the cards are telling me. They both had a conversation with these two planets. First Mars did, then Venus did, and now they're coming together. They've been changed by these encounters. And also what the cards are telling me for each sign is how, what they learned and how they want to help you with what they learned. What does the tarot want you to know? What is hidden from you? It's a 7 of Cups. Very lovely, intimate encounter here. The 7 of Cups is talking about options and projections. So I feel how perhaps you have an ideal, and this person in your life that you want to change, this dynamic, the 7 of Swords dynamic with them, you want them to be stronger than they are, or you wish to be stronger than you. If you're identifying with the vulnerable person who's getting shamed, you want to be nurtured and supported, so that you can be strong. You feel like this is, so there's a kind of looking to your partner to be, to fulfill your fantasy. And I think you want to give this to yourself so that you can show up for your partner, for whoever this other is that you're encountering, at your, having taken responsibility like a 9 of Pentacles does for her own or their own or his own security, that you know your worth in and of yourself, therefore you can be this intimate, vulnerable person. You've risen to your highest self, strength, Venus's advice. And so these cards here of humility and bound, it's feeling like you're looking outward for help, and then you feel trapped until you get that. And that's not true. This is a projection. That's what the tarot wants you to know. This is what you're not seeing, is that you're projecting a fantasy of yours that may or may not have anything to do with what this other person in your life. And it doesn't have to be a sexual situation. These cards are just focus on that imagery. When we clarify, we'll see more. You're projecting what you need to do for yourself onto somebody else. It's quite a rich, gorgeous fantasy that you have, and it's a lot about power and play and intimacy. But in fact, this is what you're currently sitting in that you wish to change. You're not getting what you want. And I don't think it's a good idea to actually look to the other to fulfill your fantasy. You can, 7 of Swords shows me that you would like to communicate about that. You're willing to open up about that. Venus, Mars, and the tarot are saying you need to muster strength and independence and quit projecting. The future for you, should you choose to take this advice, or the future, here we have it, the 2 of Cups. This is your wish, right? You really get this soul bond, new love, beautiful, mirroring, equally powerful, just relationship if you take this advice and take responsibility for your own fantasy and for being the strong one, for being in strength. Take responsibility for your fantasy. Don't be too afraid to be vulnerable. And if you're with a person that's turning your back on you, vulnerable, nothing here says walk away. So the 9 of Pentacles does say better to be single. There is a 2 of Cups in the future, whether it's with this current thing or not, I don't know. Bottom of the deck, 6 of Swords, 9 of Cups. Again, we get changing your mind. So there's that fantasy again. So this is a very powerful story and fantasy that you have of either being, I feel like you're the bottom, but you have picked a person who's like gentle and vulnerable, and that's very beautiful. It's just not meeting this fantasy. This is your fantasy. This is your fantasy. This person is is you need to change this story in your head, and then you get with that another 9, another fulfilling your desires and your emotional needs on your own, alone. And of course, the image is of a couple. He looks like, I feel like I really see a conversation here, you know, and he looks like he's being vulnerable. She looks crabby, right? I don't know. We can look at this. The imagery and how it speaks to me is really important. And then I think how it speaks to you as well is important. That's why I show it to you. So you can add to this or push it a little bit and choose who you're identifying with. I don't know why I'm seeing you as this really powerful person who wants your match. You want to be overpowered. Actually, that's like your hot fantasy. Right on. How can you take responsibility for fulfilling that fantasy? Is it with this person or is it with somebody new? So we're going to clarify with some gold painted cards here, Libra. It's a pretty simple message here so far. Let's see if we can widen it out a little bit to other areas of your life. Okay, your hope. There is the Fool. Sort of a very new start. It's like I do get the feeling that this is a new thing. Starting out on a new thing, full of optimism. Oh, it's also a very transformative thing. Death. Where you want to change it. You want to change your Fool? Fool's going this way, death is going this way. And Pentacle, Ace of Pentacles. You want a 3D embodied beginning. It's a new start. You're in a new thing. So it's perfectly normal to have a disagreement in a new beginning. It's physical. It's a physical relationship that you're having misunderstanding in. I feel like you want to change the Fool. Death is such a different energy from the Fool. It's very deep, dark, transformative, Scorpio. But then it's like you're hanging out with Aries, like who never learns and is just an adorable beginner. Okay, well, what does Venus want to add to this here with the Strength card? What I'm getting is you rising to your highest, gentlest, most loving self. 8 of Swords. This is this card is what the bound card here is. It's a perception of being trapped and of being really dependent on something releasing you, when in fact you could simply walk out yourself. You're actually not tied very tightly. It's almost like, that's funny. So strength sometimes comes through to me as a feeling of bondage of will. It's like repressing my desires. Sometimes how I can experience this strength card that Venus is giving you is like, I have this passion and this fire, and I have this desire, this fantasy, and I'm being told by the tarot to sublimate, to channel that energy into something else, and I see your in bondage in the 8 of Swords, your perception that this means that you were forced against your will. But there's also, again, this desire on your part to be bound, to be dominated by an outsider. It's like such a fantasy. There's not even another person in this scene of bondage, which that's just a reading that comes in. I think because this is Mars is showing us like this image of intimacy if when you take responsibility for your own security. Yeah, I'm not surprised to see the Emperor here. You want this kind of person. You have this kind of person. You have a little fool, a beginner, and you want like the Emperor who's decisive, who takes care of things. And there's a 3 of Swords. That's good to know. So what's causing you to feel trapped okay, so you've been, it feels just like disappointment. It feels kind of like, I don't mean to diminish your heartbreak because this hurt. You can see this guy roiling around in anguish here on the ground. But there's something very light and airy at this point about this 3 of Swords. It's almost like a concept that you're holding on to, like, right? Like this idea you have for how it should be. This Emperor, this really big, powerful, dominating, decisive energy that is your fantasy. That you wish this person you're with was more like that kind of thing. And it comes from a history that you have of somebody not being that. So you're afraid of getting disappointed, hurt by some kind of emotional lightweight. Whoa. Okay. So Venus, she's just telling us about what you need to rise above. She's telling us you need strength. You need to be coming from that loving, your most loving, highest self, to be the emperor of your own life, is what Mars says. So strength is another way of saying that same thing. I just feel like Mars and Venus are like, they're like, yes, what she said. All right, well, let's look at what Mars says. Let's clarify this. 9 of Pentacles, the single girl's card. Truth. Ace of Swords. You know what that means? When the tarot reader pulls the Ace of Swords, the thing they just said is true. Okay. So Temperance there is on the bottom. Okay, Magician. Manifesting what you want. Using all your tools, including your heart. And then there's a 3 of Cups, which is... Okay, so here's your Magician. It's very much based on the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot style of magician. Got great cheekbones. So it's just like the manifester making the world that they want, your fantasy, real. This is up to you to make your fantasy real. This is a simple message. It's being said repeatedly. Take responsibility for your fantasy and try to lighten up a bit. 3 of Cups. Lighten up. Reconciliation. You can heal this. This is just one of these things, though, that if you start this way with a person, with this shaming, vulnerability, weakness, it's coming from your fear that you got disappointed in the past by some lightweight. You need to heal that in order to actually bring your vision into the world. Okay. And I'm seeing Temperance on the bottom here, and also it really wants me to talk about the right mix can be found. And it's, again, there's divine support for this. There's reconciliation with this person that is new, but also there's been a misunderstanding that needs to be, there needs to be something cleared up here. Okay, Tarot wants you to know 7 of Cups. This is you projecting your fantasy, or maybe this 3 of Swords. We'll see what else we see here. Something that ended. Okay, the World. An ending and a beginning. So I feel like this is referring to your past, this 3 of Swords from the past. You're projecting it onto this, or your fears are coming from that. There's the Lovers. Okay. Wow, this is big. This is an important connection. The Lovers are, since we were talking about Venus and Mars, they are the Lovers, and here they're appearing. And it is a decision when you're in the Lovers, because you've met your soulmate. You've met the person who is the one you get to be you with, the one that is connects with you on every level, spiritual, physical, intellectual. What am I missing? All the levels in the world, in the mind, in the spirit, and in the heart, the emotional connection. They're all here. But you can make a choice that will screw it up. You can lose it because you don't choose it, because you're afraid. And I see fear here. I see this person. I see both these people in the 7 of Swords as afraid. So if that person this fool that you want to be death, you want to be the emperor, you want to be this really powerful person, if this person is your lover, your soulmate on all levels, connection, you need to make a choice in order to have that. And the choice is strength or 9 of Pentacles. That's what Mars says. You could be alone, or Venus says, or you could rise to your highest self. They agree. They're showing you 2 paths. You can manifest what you want, says Mars. There's decisiveness, and you have a great deal of power, Libra. And there is that Knight of Cups. This, I think, is you, Libra, coming in with your heart, as Venus suggests. That's the choice, and takes you forward to the future, which is this 2 of Cups. Sweet, true soul connection, as well as the Hermit. All right, the Hermit here is a very solitary energy of looking inward. And so I think this and looking backwards to reflect on this disappointment from the past, what ended in this World card here is looking back at this World card and looking at the Lovers. And so the cards are saying this in multiple ways over and over and over. Look to yourself to fulfill to find the truth. Look to your inner light. You know what you want. You know what you need. You know how to do it for yourself. Doesn't mean you do it alone. It just means, And so you're looking, here's this beautiful Ace of Cups, but you're focusing on the empty cups, right? So look inward, look at yourself, take responsibility, but also see what you have. You have a 2 of Cups. This is you in the future, realizing, and then there is change. There is the Wheel of Fortune here. In your favor. Things are going to change in your favor when you look to yourself, notice what you actually have instead of what you don't have. Then you get what you want. You get this 2 of Cups. It suggests that there's a choice that you are capable of making, to bringing your heart forward like this Knight of Cups. Okay, so this is a very personal, intimate reading. It doesn't have to be in the bedroom where this dynamic is occurring. This can be in life. There's somebody in your life that you want them to be stronger, but you can be stronger. You want them to offer you security and the material, physical security that you want, but you can bring that in for yourself. And once you bring that in for yourself and recognize, like, oh, this is who I'm with, and they're an Ace of Cups. They're my Two of Cups. They're the lover. And the only thing I haven't seen here is the Four of Wands. I mean, once you do that, then you get lucky somehow. You get a Two of Cups. You get equality with your partner. Your hope is to get out of this. It's like an impasse. And the underlying energy here, and it goes with the bound energy too, is that you're up in your head quite a bit about this. And the cards say, get in your heart. Come from your heart like this. This is the classy love offer. I feel like, you need to have an honest conversation with somebody. And the Ace of Swords is here. So, Mars says, if you bring this cold, hard truth of like, I need you to be more physical and powerful and dominating and make me feel safe and tie me up or provide security for me. Like, if you come from that you lack place, you end up alone. But if you come from your highest self, from your strength, and you come from your heart, like the Knight of Cups, the tarot says, what ended, what is in the past, doesn't have to cut you out of the opportunity, which is the Lovers, if you bring your heart forward. And we can see you in the future hermiting and turning from what you don't have and towards recognizing what you do have, and then getting that Two of Cups, that change that is divine. So get out of your head and into your heart, because, and to come back to humility, like, that's such an interesting thing that happened with humility. It seemed that you needed to look outside of yourself for something that you need, and maybe you do. But really what we're seeing, the tarot says, when we pull out this spread, it says, you have what you need. You can provide what you need. You're not bound to wait and intellectualize and problematize and criticize. You don't need to do that. You're not here. You're not here. This is not happening again. You're afraid that's happening. But, I mean, Two Cups is happening. Lovers is happening. The Knight of Cups. You're being offered, or you are offering your heart here. Tarot is very clear about that. Quit projecting and start owning your desire and your emotional needs and meeting them for yourself so that you can have this sweet, vulnerable Fool. I think I relate to the Fool in this reading. So, I'm a Scorpio, and people often look at me and they see me upon first encounter as like this dominatrix who will take them down in the dark and pull out all of their desires and satisfy them. And no doubt I can, not to be vain, but yeah, I can do that. But then somewhere along the line, like, my need is to be vulnerable, to not just be death, but to be the Fool, and to have a reciprocal opportunity for surrender and vulnerability. I don't always want to be death. Sometimes I want to be, mostly I want intimacy and sweetness, and I want to be vulnerable with my person. And so this is a dilemma that I've been in in relationships. And then ultimately I've ended up feeling rejected. And then I've had to take responsibility. Well, okay, I projected out there that I was this death bringer, you know? How can I be both death and this sweet this sweet person here, you know? How can I be the full range from fool to death? And Libra, I think you might be with somebody who has that range. And maybe too much information, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Like, they can't be death, and they won't want to be your dominator, your powerful, sexy lover if you don't know and love their fool side. There's something that happens when you don't get to be the full range of yourself. So I feel like the cards are catching you in a beginning with an opportunity to be in this fantasy, but the way that you're going about it, getting it, is too much in your head, too much air, swords, your nature, Libra, and you need to come down into your heart and see who you're with, right? Come down here. See this Ace of Cups. Don't focus on the empty cups. Look here. It says you're with the Two of Cups. This is your lover. This is big. Or Mars says, go on, take it on the road, go alone. Manifest what you want. So that is your reading, Libra. I hope this is useful. Take what you want and leave the rest. Yeah, good luck.